Augie, I think all three of us are in agreement that there were some good things in the proposals, and as you yourself, and I agree with you, Augie. There are things that I think need to be looked at, and again, Liverpool and United are spinning it as, if we hadn't done this, then they'd never would have looked at them. No, I think they probably would have, regardless. So let's talk about some of those things that we like. We're going to mention something that we like.
Okay, that you would keep from the plan.
Yes. Okay. I, straight off the bat, 18-team Premier League, boom, done. I'd go even further. I'd make it a 16-team Premier League, but I may be too radical there.
Why? What do you like? I mean, it's like in the Bundesliga in France.
Yeah.
A lot of the top clubs especially would like to go down to 18 as well.
I think there's far too much strain on players. I mean, later on we'll be talking about the effects of travel and COVID and all this jazz. I absolutely hate midweek league football. I don't think it should happen ever.
Why?
It's not fan friendly. It's not TV friendly. There's no reason for it. And you get a lot of less relevant games. So the Premier League's idea of having an 18-team top flight, of course, when they had the 18-team top flight back in 1992, they famously later went up to 22 teams.
Yeah.
So that's my one. Let's have an 18-team top flight. Let's have fewer games, more meaningful games. Let's have players who are actually rested and able to perform, who don't drag themselves all around the pitch. Augie, anything you like?
Yeah, I agree with the 18-team thing, but the only danger of that is I just wonder whether that would be a way for the bigger clubs to open the door to more games of the Champions League. So you're getting more midweek football there, and Champions League is great, but next week we have teams like Krasnodar and Rennes that are playing, and let's be honest.
All right.
What's wrong with Rennes?
Sorry, Jules, but
sorry, Augie,
so much.
Augie, sorry. Just to make it clear, you just dissed Krasnodar and Rennes, yeah?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So you play man of the people with Bury and Rochdale and Macclesfield, but Krasnodar and Rennes.
Yeah. That's really who he is. That is really who he is, I think.
Seriously, man.
The third best teams in France and Russia last season. Look, the idea. What I'm saying is that, but if you improve the Premier League, you don't want to, as a knock-on effect, diminish the quality of the Champions League, and that is an area of concern that I'd have that the increase of free midweeks would lend itself to more European football, or God forbid, more international football, which is the last thing we want. So I do think that the 18-team thing is a good thing. I do like the idea of giving greater monies to the lower leagues. I know you don't, Gab. I'm more Robin Hood than you. I think I'd rather give them a bit more money. But and the proposal for fans as well, £20 for away tickets. It works in Germany.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Some of the prices in England are absolutely disgraceful, especially in London for away fans. They're absolutely off the scale. And I think one thing we've found during the pandemic is that football really, really needs fans inside stadiums. It's just such a soulless exercise without fans. So I'd make it even cheaper than £20. I'd make it 15, 10 even, just to get the grounds full, because football needs supporters. I don't
think filling Premier League grounds has been a problem thus far. Augie, give me something. So that's your one that you like, the £20 for away. What do you like?
Parachute payments. They wind me up so much. So you're in the Premier League. You're not good enough for the Premier League because you're coming back down to the Championship, and yet you leave with a huge amount of money. That makes it so unfair when you go back to the Championship compared to the other teams who obviously didn't have that kind of revenue.
So
why?
The argument for parachute payments has long been, and I think it's, in the real world, it's a foolish argument. The argument has long been, well, we need the parachute payments because otherwise, when I go down to the Championship, I lose 80 million in revenue and I can't afford to pay my players because all of a sudden I have a huge shortfall in revenue, hence the parachute payments. There's a very good solution for that.
Yeah.
Just put it in the standard Premier League contract. If you get relegated, and I do this for everybody. I do it for Man City and Liverpool too. Hey, Trent Alexander-Arnold, you're going to make 140 grand a week, but if Liverpool get relegated, you take a automatic 50%.
But there's a lot of clubs who do that already. Every club in the rest of Europe do it without parachute payments.
And a lot of clubs in the Premier League do it, but many don't. And I agree with you on the parachute payments.
But my issue is then some of the clubs who have those clauses in players' contract, or we're going to cut your wages in half if we go down. They go down, they still get the parachute payments. So the whole argument of we need parachute payments,
completely.
this is like, no, because they win-win in both situations. So I would scrap the parachute payment, and that's a really good point that I like from the big picture project.
And Jules, just on that, the strange thing about the parachute payments is, if you look at the clubs that have been relegated from the Premier League in the last 10 years, the vast majority haven't come back, despite having the parachute payments. So it's not as if it helps them come back. It actually makes things worse. It almost lends itself to laziness and carelessness when they're in the Premier League, because they know this money's coming. All we ever hear with the playoffs is it's the richest game in world football. It's worth £200 million, because clubs are already realising that if they get promoted and don't even win a game the following season, it will be worth £200 million because they'll get relegated with a big fat cheque. But it still doesn't seem to help them bounce back. I mean, look at Huddersfield, look at teams like, Sheffield Wednesday have been down to the third tier. All these, Bradford, all these clubs that have had parachute payments have completely waited. Sunderland, a club as big as Sunderland, with a parachute payment should have come back straight away. But mismanagement at all these clubs has let themselves squander this parachute payment, so it doesn't actually help them in the first place.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.